Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Fedora Friday, baby.
Fedora Friday.
The great one, Bob Kravitz from bobkravitz.com, which I know each and every one of you are subscribed to. If not, you're missing out on incredible content, whether it's about Indiana, Purdue, the Pacers, the Colts, whatever, and sports in general. It's all there, baby. But right now, it's NCAA basketball. For Bob, and with good reason. Tonight you have the Purdue Boilermakers that are still trying to vanquish the ghosts of seasons past, not been to a Final Four in 43 years, 44, whatever 44, it is actually now.
Yeah, 44
which
years.
Is a long, long time. And it's nut cutting time at the NCAA, Bob. Last night's games, 3 of the 4 were just incredibly fun to watch. -1, UConn just, since we're wearing the fedoras, man, they just pulled an Al Capone, and it was like the St. Valentine's Day Massacre in the second half against San Diego State. Just mind-boggling. They scored 52 points total in a game, and UConn scored 42 in the second half.
Yeah. It's they don't look like they're going to lose to anybody, and
maybe the Raptors,
maybe the Rap, maybe they did this last year. I mean, they're a special team, but I just think in the end it's going to be the two teams that separated themselves from the field during the course of the regular season. That's Purdue and UConn. I would be shocked if that's not our final next weekend.
Say that again. Who do you? The final?
UConn and Purdue.
Really? Yeah. I did get a feeling last night that I wonder, is Purdue the only team that could possibly beat UConn? And that's not because I think Purdue is so unbeatable, but because they have the unusual in Zach Edey.
Right.
He's a different animal, and it just changes things. But UConn is so stinking good at so many different places with so many different weapons.
And they got a center. They got that Clinton kid.
Yes.
Who's very good. And he can score from the perimeter a little bit. He can take Zach outside, which Zach doesn't want to do, which he's not going to do. So yeah, I think that's the matchup, but it's going to be interesting tonight. I'm getting ready. I was just packing actually when before we made the call here. I'm going to head on up to Detroit, but Gonzaga has played lights out for the last month and a half, 2 months. I believe, and don't quote me, I believe they've won 16 out of 18. This is a team that early in the season you wondered if they were going to keep that streak going of Sweet 16s. And man, they look great against McNeese, and they clobbered Kansas, absolutely clobbered them.
Yeah, and Mark Few, and I've said this a couple times this week, Bob, but you weren't with us, so I'll repeat it. Mark Few said something in regards to what was it, 2019, that they played for the national championship last when they lost to Baylor. He said that he wished that they had played Baylor earlier in the year, so he had a better understanding of their physicality of that team. They were brawny guys. They did play Purdue this year, so they have an understanding of Zach Edey and what they're going to have to deal with. The rest of their team is some good fill-ins, but it's not like you've got UConn or something like that where you have multiple NBA draft picks out there. Right. But having had played them, I think that's going to give Gonzaga the best shot that they have.
I agree.
For a game plan to beat Purdue.
Well, they had the lead, if I remember correctly. This is many months ago, but they had the lead on Purdue at halftime, and if memory serves, they shot awful from three. You know, if they shoot even decent from the 3-point arc, they probably, you know, compete or even win that game. You might look it up, but they were terrible from three.
Yeah, that was a game that only ended up being a 10-point win for Purdue. And it was a 5-point game at the half with Gonzaga leading the
Right.
Boilers by 5.
Check out the 3-point shooting. I think they were horrible.
Let's see, field goal percentage 37, 3-point, 18%.
18.
So
yeah, so I mean, if they shoot
14 turnovers on top of that.
right. So Gonzaga was not Gonzaga at that point. They were just sort of feeling their way through the thing, and you know, Purdue's been on top of its game pretty much all year.
Well, nothing has changed.
No,
Edie is what Edie is, and you've got a supporting cast that is pretty decent. You've got a Braden Smith who can hurt you, and sometimes he can have an off night. The rest of the supporting cast has been okay. It's been good enough. Different from, say, a UConn that has guys that can just go off on you because you've got so much talent around you. But this was a game that was tight. I mean, the rebounds, the previous Gonzaga game with Purdue, rebounds were even.
right.
And if it hadn't been for the 3-point shooting, that may have been a different outcome.
No, I'll tell you what. If I was a bet, I don't know what is the line tonight. Do you happen to know?
I do not, but John probably does.
Let me see. I have it right in front, or I did have it right in front of me. Go right back over to the games. Purdue is currently a 5.5-point favorite over Gonzaga.
Well, I think I like. I don't know. I mean, I think. What would I do? What would Bob do?
I would take Gonzaga because otherwise you're betting with everybody else. And I just think that Purdue has not been pushed yet either. No. They've not played anyone that has had anything for them. They played a woefully overmatched Grambling team, and Utah State just did not have anything as well. You get to this level,
also made them look that way. Those are pretty. I mean, Utah State won a conference that put 6 teams in the NCAA tournament. So Utah State wasn't as bad as they just happened to look against Purdue. I think Purdue deserves all the credit in the world for making Utah State look that inept.
Loading thinks the Zags win by 7. Wow, that's some confidence there. We'll see about that. But last night, the games were great. Did you watch all 4 games last night?
I kept falling asleep. That's how old I am.
Dude, I was worried that I was going to fall asleep during the final game of what was the last game?
I think it was North Carolina. No, that was earlier. There's a game late.
Illinois.
Iowa State. I watched part of it the whole night. My wife, I'm on the couch and I keep zonking out. My wife's like, "Don't you need to watch this? Isn't this your job?" Shut up. Leave me alone.
If Purdue is able to get past Gonzaga tonight, that will put 2 Big Ten teams in the Elite 8, the 2 best teams all season in the Big Ten. That we do that all year long with Illinois, but Illinois, Terrence Shannon, is he the best individual player in the tournament right now?
I think that he is. He's not the most dominant. That would be Edie.
Right. But
as far as if you're looking at guys who have a chance to be special at the next level, Terrence Shannon's the guy. It's a little bit of a nightmare for the NCAA. You've got this guy playing who's got this cloud over his head for allegedly doing really heinous things. So we don't know, and I don't know all the details of his situation, but that's a tough look for college basketball that you may be handing the championship trophy at some point to a guy with his baggage. But
at the same time, he's innocent until proven guilty. And how many teams have there been in the past that we're probably cheating a lot.
Yeah.
But speaking of Terrence Shannon Jr., he's averaging more points for the Illini at over 24 points per game than any former Illini player since the 70s.
Wow.
I mean, they've had some good guys come through there and some good teams, but that's saying something. You've got Clemson making their first Elite Eight in 43 years.
Yeah.
There's some cool things happening. And most importantly, Bob, we're seeing a lot of chalk now, more so than we've seen in a long time.
Yeah. I mean, last year was kind of an anomaly, easy for me to say. When you had San Diego State and FAU and all these lower seeded teams, that was an anomaly. Usually, the early rounds, you see a couple of upsets here and there, and then it starts to go chalk. And that's what we're starting to see, although Clemson put a little dent in that last night. And
I think that this is what we're going to start seeing in the future. And here's why I say that, although with a little bit of some wiggle room, but because of the transfer portal, these teams are going to continue to get better. They're going to take the good that they have, and they're going to keep adding to it. If you have a team like UConn who wins a national championship, turns around, loses 3 starters to the NBA, 75% of their scoring, reloads, and comes right back, man. But, the stat that I gave, I don't know, were you on when I mentioned this, that the last 5 national champions have had a minimum of 4 NBA draft picks on them.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, that does not surprise me in the least.
That eliminates Purdue from the conversation.
Well, I mean, obviously Edey's going to be a draft pick. I think Braden has a chance to be somewhere playing professional basketball, whether that's the NBA or not. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I'll tell you who on that team I think has a chance to play in the NBA. Cam Heide.
Hey, he's done a hell of a job coming out of nowhere.
He is a superior athlete. He does things that nobody else in this team can do. So once he starts getting playing time and starts to show that he's got a well-rounded game, that's a guy that, who I think has the requisite athleticism to play in the league.